It's Sunday. It's slightly late because we were talking to Adam, who's back. This is Art of Rock, and we're going to talk about rock and how to make music and shit like that. And so here's the thing. Please work. Thank you. Join us every week here on Sunday around 9 a.m. We try and do it exactly 9 a.m. And we're going to talk about this crazy stuff. And my mic's now clipping. Fuck, I need more caffeine. This is all made possible by Angelspit's Patreon supporters who are here. These people keep me going. I'm going to try and keep them going. And we are going to try and keep you going. Because we do give a fuck. We really do. And a lot of the content on Angelspit's Patreon is free. So just jump on. And if it ain't free now, it will be free eventually. Get some Angelspit merch. There's a link. There's new t-shirts and there's new shit coming up. I've got a live stream coming up next Thursday. It was going to be last Thursday, but I had to put it off because life. I don't like postponing things. Gotta be. If you say you're going to do it, you gotta do it. And I didn't. I feel terrible. Anyway, it's this Thursday coming up, and it's going to be Mind Phase, and I've called it Mind Phase because I'm mostly going to be playing with the Hex Inverter Mind Phaser, which is a module I recently acquired, #gear acquisition syndrome, and it blows my mind. I'm going to be fucking with that thing, and everything else, making hell. Okay, you guys have to help me out, because I'm going to say Julius's band's Brandavast. How do I say his band? Brantashaz. He's watching this going, rolling his eyeballs, slapping his head around. Brandshots. Okay, Brandshots has just released he's one of our crew, and he's just released a single called Philanthropy. I got that bit right. Get it. Go give it a listen. Give it a try. Get it. And if you're into music, also, because we are, I got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm putting on the Ice Planet 9000 Bandcamp, a whole bunch of improvisations, because we're getting ready to release the big release, which is called Sequence 1 Glass Jar, which is possibly the most ambitious thing I have ever worked on, and it's now coming into 2 years that we have been working on this fucking thing. And the vinyl is insane, and it's just madness. And also, I've been working with a crazy guy from Turkey named Els, in a band called Els and the Cult, and his name is Els, and they just released their first single off the album Sex Macabre, but this is Discipline, so go and check it out. The single is the track Discipline that I helped him put together, and he's dropping the full album in about a month, and it's bloody awesome. And Els is queer, because I love working with all people, and being queer in Turkey or a Muslim country isn't very easy. So a lot of his lyrics are really dealing with this stuff, and it's sexy as hell. So check that shit out. And if you want your music non-stop and dark like coffee, but grinded with hell, check out MTV TV. MTV TV. It's 24 hours non-stop awesome music, and there's a whole bunch of guest programmers, including moi recently, and Julius from Branted Shahs, I got it wrong again, soon, and Brian from the Gossicles and a billion other bands, and people are laughing at me right now. Fuck you all. Okay, welcome. Wow. I did all that with a muted mic. Just kidding. So, we're going to talk today about concept, and is concept important in music? How important is it? And then we'll probably talk about something else. So, I'm going to throw the floor open now, and I want you guys to talk to me about concept. Like when you're listening to an album and there's a concept, do you give a shit? And then when you're doing an album, and writing an album is the most horrific thing you can put yourself through. You don't truly know yourself until you write an album. Like, it's a reflection of yourself, and you look at yourself and you go, I am poo. I am a poo monster. A monster full of poo. Writing this album, and Rob, stop me right now. Go.
Carl, what is a concept?
I guess it's a centralized idea, Rob. And I guess it's a it can be everything from the knights of old singing about how they're looking for Excalibur, which is a great movie, by the way, through to and you know that's Emerson, Lake and Palmer, or was it fucking Eno did that? I don't remember. Concept is something that Brian Eno and Peter Gabriel invented. And it's the whole idea that there's an idea or a theme or a movie or a universe happening behind the album, and the album is the result of that thing. So there might be a story going through it, a plot going through it, an idea running through it that is feeding the whole narrative and the idea and the inspiration. I wish my wife bought me cookies behind everything. What'd you get, Rob?
It's really important. It's a new power adapter for my water pressure washer.
Excellent. Okay.
Nothing to do with music whatsoever.
Okay, cool. We just bought a new oven, me and the wife. It's the first oven. We've never bought an oven before, but we bought an oven, and we went, we're going to get a good oven. And it's red. It's the same red because me and my wife have Pantone 186 in common, which is this red, which is also called Chicago red. And it's a fucking good oven. And it's a sexy fucking thing. And
red is your concept.
Red is the concept. Well, yeah, I've done albums that are based on the concept of red. And the album I'm doing now is based on the concept of black. That's what I think a concept is. So with this in mind, I mean, like, I'll throw the floor back open again. What is the definition of concept? But more importantly, as a listener, do you care? And therefore, as a musician, do you care? So I want to hear what you guys have to say. I want to hear what you have to say. Adam, go.
Well, you know, when you talk about concept records, one of the first thing that comes to my mind was Queensryche with Operation Mindcrime, and the Pink Floyd, The Wall. Right, there are very few concept albums that have really stuck in the consciousness of generations like those records have. But I think that having a narrative in the record, you know, if you're writing an album, and you know, Carl, I think you do a really good job with this, like on your records, like you have an overarching theme, and the songs themselves don't necessarily have to fit into like a story narrative kind of thing, like Operation Mindcrime or The Wall do, but having a theme that holds all the pieces together gives the album more of a sense of being an album. I think, you know, from a listening perspective, I like albums that are cohesive. You know, this is kind of one of those things where it's like, you know, when you're putting out singles and you're putting out like dance tracks and stuff like that, club tracks, I don't think it really matters if you have much of a concept that you're working on, you know, outside of the concept of the song itself. But when you're working on a full length, I do feel like a full length album is more pleasant to listen to than a collection of tracks, if that makes sense. Like an album that has a sense of design and pacing matters a lot, and I think that having an overarching concept for a record kind of helps to do that. Like in my own case, when I did the Skeleton Closet record, you know, one of the things that I did kind of early was I discarded the idea of having any angry songs, and I said no angry songs. It's just going to be like sad, emotional, you know, longing, you know, kind of thing. The concept of the record was, it's, you know, basically just songs that have been stuck in my head for a really long time, but when I put them all together, it tells stories that are slices out of actual life, you know, that kind of thing. So that's, you know, that's kind of the envelope that I put my record into, and saying, like, you know, actually I was just talking to Paul from Insect Machine, and was saying, like, it'd be fun to do a collaboration track, right? I've got these lyrics that are like, I write lyrics that just don't fit what I'm doing with my project at the moment, but let's do something else with it and call it something different and give it a different envelope. Give it, take the concept and put that into a different frame because it doesn't fit into this concept, if that makes sense. Somebody else babble now.
That's great. I throw the floor open. I want to hear what people have to say.
I'm torn back and forth with concept albums. I don't personally think that. I think theme maybe for me is more important than an actual concept, unless you're making a concept album with a basic story behind it. I think for me, as long as the album flows well, mastering I think is very important in that, to make sure the whole album sounds coherent and together like a glue. For me, that's more important than an actual concept. For me, Nine Inch Nails' Downward Spiral is my favorite concept album of all time. I just like the way it's put together. It sounds amazing, and Nine Inch Nails for me is the all-time.
I'm going to ask you specifically, once you've finished here, what is the concept of that album? But keep going.
Okay. When I put music together, I haven't done a concept album, in my opinion. And people can take that differently because art is subjective. And if somebody feels there's a concept behind something, I'm all for that. However, it makes you feel good, I've never specifically written a concept. Actually, I lied. My very first thing I ever did was called Reslip, and I made a character up, and the character had a base story, and all the songs were just that base story. So, but it was based upon this character that was created that was there. Nine Inch Nails concept album, and I don't know if Trent's ever come out and actually said what it was, but he's hinted towards it, and people have taken it differently. But for me, I mean, the concept is the guy, it's based on one guy and the whole story progression of going into madness and depression. So when you listen to that album, and even the way it starts with Mr. Self-Destruct and the last song, Hurt, just the idea of like how that first song is to the last song, and it's just a descent into madness. And how he's dealing with that descent into madness, which I thought was pretty awesome, especially during that time and what Trent was on. All this he was doing was pretty intense. But yeah, so for me, concepts are not as important as maybe a theme of the album, just to make sure everything sounds similar.
All right. If anything about that album, I would say it's getting off heroin, but I don't know. Anybody else? Thank you. Anyone else? Vince, I want to hear from you.
Okay. I'm gonna speak on my own personal experience with using a concept for an album, but I don't feel like I really accomplished a concept album as much as I set up the concept for my producer persona, the mind behind the music kind of thing. Because when I did my first EP, Revenant, it was originally only 4 tracks, and I ended up re-releasing it, and the original with only the first 4 tracks doesn't exist anymore. I still have one CD copy of it somewhere, but it ended up being 7 tracks, but the first 4 were meant to be the soundtrack to a short film that I never ended up making because I couldn't find funding or people to film it with me, so I never bothered making the short film, and I just went ahead and released the album on its own. And it set up more of a concept for who the music comes from than it did making itself a concept album. The story was a soldier who had been brutally murdered and brought back to life through technology and sought revenge. And it ended up being more of the character left after that story that kind of became the DJ Underminer persona. revenge has been had. Once you've had revenge, what do you have left? What do you work with from there? After you've accomplished the one thing you felt like you wanted to, but you realize there's more to do. And I felt like there was an inherent darkness to that worked well going forward. But as far as the concept album goes, I think it's more important to have a concept of your character than it is to have a concept for any one album. Make the theme behind all of your music similar rather than worrying about that one album. That way everything works together, whether you're releasing singles or an entire collection of music. It'll all have the same kind of vibe somewhere in it. Even if all the songs aren't the same, it's still, the theme of you should carry over. I don't think genre is that important, but I also I fail to put myself into a genre, so concept is entirely subjective.
Okay.
Both to the artist and the listener. So it's important if that's what you're going for, but if you don't care, I don't think you should have to. I don't know. I'm rambling. I have lots of thoughts.
It's Sunday morning, man. Or Sunday afternoon for you. This is about rambling. If I may, if anybody else wants to jump in, please jump in. All right, Mark, I want to hear from you later. So this is, and Diana, I want to hear from you as well. So it's funny because wife and I are doing a RoboCop bender, and I've never seen RoboCop 2 or 3 or the remake. And we watched RoboCop 2 last night, and it's funny, I basically know RoboCop 2 because of Frontline Assembly's tactical neural implant, which is just RoboCop samples. And he went, Jesus, I went, he's going to say head days like this. It's like the whole movie. I knew it was coming next. Which is a really great example of a concept album, and which is cyberpunk. Because before that, they weren't into cyberpunk. They were just making music. And then the cyberpunk thing happened. So I did the Bang Operative, which was album number 8, which was one album ago, was kind of borrowed from John Cage. I mean, not John Cage. That would be amazing. John Fox. And we should do a thing on John Cage sometime. Anyway, John Fox, which, he had a concept of a man, a woman, a city. That was the concept. And his, it was more like a manifesto was there will only be 8 tracks, including the vocals. There will, all this really cool stuff. And I wanted to do that because I've always wanted to do something minimal, but I can't because my brain's fucked. Or different, I don't know, whatever. And so my concept was a man, a woman, a city. It's 2 a.m. A crime has happened that you have orchestrated, and it's gone wrong. So all of the songs were about that concept, that shit has just fallen apart. And listening to that album, probably no one heard that. Probably no one. Oh yeah, this is about breaking into a bank vault. And with the really cool thing about concepts is that for me, it helps me drive the album. It helps me go, well, so this song's gonna focus on the guys that are coming in with guns because the alarm goes off. So these are the security thugs. I shouldn't use the word thugs. The security guards who are coming in, and they're realizing that, well, because of the healthcare benefits, which are crap, they're not going to take a bullet. They're not going to really go. So there's a whole political thing going on there behind that's driving their. I'm just going to shoot a few rounds, but I'm not getting in the way here because all of this shit's insured anyway. There's a whole bunch of ideas. There's a whole bunch of ideas about, the acquisition of funds. Why are you doing this crime? La 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 la. These concepts drove me. And something that I'm about to experiment with is one of my favorite albums ever, which is Depeche Mode's Construction Time Again, which is the concept is the realities of the industrial Midwest England. I think it's Midwest, and how these small towns and these cities are breeding boredom among the youth, and there is this divide happening, and we just got a Fairlight. And that to me is really inspiring. So I want to, really explore that. That's as industrial as it gets, because it's industrial things with an industrial instrument, and it's Depeche Mode. So to me, the excitement of that is to say, okay, well, I'm only going to use one instrument, one synth. And I want to use a lot of Emacs, only Emacs on this album. I don't want to use modular anymore. Every track I have has fucking Mini Moog on it. I don't want to use the Mini Moog. I don't want to use the K2000. I'll probably use the fucking Rev 2 because it's awesome. But the whole point is, with these constrictions, it's forcing me to go, okay, well, I've got this synth and I hardly ever use it. Well, actually, that's a lie because I use the Emacs all the time. But the point is, I only use it on certain things. I haven't grabbed something, banged it and clanged it, and then slowed it down, dropped it an octave, and went, hey, there's a rhythm in that. I'm going to use that rhythm. I haven't done that in years. Because the art of sampling is disappearing, and for some reason my brain keeps saying, you don't have time, you got to go, you got to rush. And I just want to explore the joy of creating sound. And building something on that sound, then throwing it into a synthesizer or a sampler, or going, what is this thing going to throw back at me? I don't think, rarely have I, I'll listen to Pink Floyd's I know The Wall is concept driven, but Dark Side of the Moon. And although to my knowledge there's no concept behind that one, it feels like there is a concept album, because it feels like behind that music there is an infinity universe of something that this album is just the cover sheen to that. But behind it there is this thing. And that's something I'm always wanting to create, and that's why I love concept. Because concept can make at least you, and maybe some of the listeners, feel like there is... all you're getting right now is the skin of the bubble. I'm not going to tell you what's in that bubble. Your imagination is going to be inspired to know that either something horrifying or something beautiful, or horrifyingly beautiful, or hideously perfect, is inside that bubble. So there. That's what I think. As an artist, it's great, and as a composer, it's they're really handy, because if you hit problems, you can use that concept to push you through it. Like, having that character. What does that character feel like in this situation? Although, if I can rant for a second, although I've been ranting constantly, it's interesting that the world being the way it is, everything I do is so fucking political. And I've stopped watching the news. I just can't take it. I'm aware of key points, but I don't want to go down that road too much, but that shit is having an effect on me as an artist. And now that we're all here, glued to our screens, being intravenously fed what is deemed fair for us to be fed, and what is deemed to be healthy for us to be fed, here we are. And a sideline, I remember I started really surfing the web in the early 90s, and it was so different. It was so different. There wasn't Google, there wasn't all of this stuff. You had to go to web links, web rings, and I'd go to the network web ring, and I would go from there. I could fucking go. I could then go and find out about these bands. And it's funny, I have a friend at the moment who's researching the Northwest Industrial Coalition, which is a thing that started in the early 90s. A bunch of Seattle and Vancouver industrial bands, one of the most important collectives ever. And he's going back. It's actually Damage. He's researching the bulletin boards, and here's something really interesting: is he's been finding a lot of elitism, industrial elitism in the 90s. Because there was this one bulletin board he showed me where people were talking about, I know, industrial music, and somebody said, oh, I don't know if I'm allowed to talk about Skinny Puppy here because I don't know if Skinny Puppy is industrial enough. I just went, wow. Anyway, so, point being is, I don't know what the point is. I yield the floor. Anyone?
I don't know how much I can contribute, but to me, story is important. Just from my background, I enjoy a concept album. It doesn't have to be that way. Yes, if I peek behind the curtain to my Eno and my Peter Gabriel, sure. But one of my favorite concept albums, and I'm not sure if it's a concept album actually, is one of Murder Ballads, a group called Murder by Death. And the album is Red of Tooth and Claw. And it's a story of murder ballads and how he comes back home from all of that. And it's just amazing to look at. So I recommend listening to it. It feels like just a complete story. And I enjoy that. I really do. Not necessarily have to have that, but I do enjoy when it feels like the story is continuing and one song is almost flowing into the next. That's about all I have on that.
And that's most excellent, and I thank you. Okay. Yeah, no, that's good. Does anybody else want to throw in anything? I will really quickly say that before we started streaming, Rob just brought up, because we were having a conversation, that the sentence "dating a stranger," and I threw it out to everyone and said, "Okay, that's such a great name for a track, and we have to write a song about that." And as we're talking about this. Dating a stranger is a concept. Like that is such a strong. We all come into that statement with so much baggage, so many relationship breakdowns, and so much heartache and bullshit, and we hear that dating a stranger, and for all of us, that pings off something different, and that's a really, really strong idea to start many tracks with. Album Dating a Stranger, title track dating a Stranger, and the concept is dating a stranger. Like, what does that mean? That could be you dealing with drug issues. That could be you dealing with self issues. That could be so many things. But anyway, so just thought I'd throw that out there. Did I see a hand? Rob, go.
Yeah, the whole concept thing to me is fairly new, but I had a friend back in Australia who was writing a rock opera, kind of like Rocky Horror Picture Show, and it was all about the storytelling. And I wasn't ever a big fan of musical movies and such, like Les Mis and stuff like that. Great to have a story, great to have characters that some people might get attached to, great to convey messages, but it's really about a visual storytelling with the audio supporting the visual. And there's other things like, there's movies like Sin City where it's kind of like cartoons all the way through. There is a story, it is a creation, an animation, if you like. But the music is really what ties it all together. And what Diane was saying, it's that continuity, not having the breaks between the tracks, having it continuous, so you never let up. So it's basically, you want to be able to immerse yourself into a journey for 45 minutes or whatever without hearing a break in the audio, and you really can shut your eyes and transport yourself somewhere else to get your own vision of what that story is telling you without seeing the visuals, if you like. It's kind of, for me, I play Dungeons and Dragons, so it's all about transporting your mind somewhere else where your fantasy may not be exactly the same as somebody else's, but it's yours, so you can create it as you go. And I think having those elements throughout the concept album that spark something that stimulates your mind, or your subconscious, if you like, to create that kind of immersive environment. I've been doing a lot of cutscene stuff lately, and with cutscenes, you go from some gameplay or a scenario, and then when you move into this area, there's this cutscene where there's this audio, music, and where you got some bad guys facing off or something like that. And it's kind of setting the mood, it's setting the scene, if you like. And I think that's really powerful. It's almost like having a dialogue or just a short conversation and some sound effects prior to your first track playing that sets the scene. And if you can continue that flow and that storyline all the way through to the last track, I think you've achieved something. And it's, most songs don't necessarily have stories behind them. I think Iron Maiden was very good at storytelling. Rime of the Ancient Mariner, where you're going on this journey, the track goes forever, it never ends, and you're taken on this journey. Similar to Pink Floyd. And I kind of agree with The Dark Side of the Moon. There is a subtle insanity behind that album across the whole swag of tracks that is really a story. And it's how you migrate from track to track makes you unique as a listener. But I don't have any experience with creating concept albums. I've thought about it because I recorded a lot of audio in Italy just before COVID. And I've thought about creating a concept album that ties all of those locations together and maybe focus on, there was a bridge collapse in Genoa where I was. A lot of people lost their lives there. Then there was COVID. So it's like, do I want to make it like a morbid kind of thing or not? Or do I want to make it happy travel? Or I don't know. I thought about that because I got a lot of material for that. And then to your point, Carl, COVID and the media and the politics in your face, nobody wants it to be in your face continuously, but you need to get it out of your system. And when I was repairing that Yamaha Motif, I was really impressed with the digital audio workstation that's built into it. And I created, I was watching TV and I said, Massive Attack Teardrop. So I made Teardrop in the Motif to just learn and teach myself how to use it and see if it's all working well. And then I ended up putting this set of lyrics over the top of it called Tragedy. And it's all about COVID and mask wearing and politics and brainwashing and, QAnon stuff and all crazy shit. And I thought, I can't really release that because I just literally wrote my version of Teardrop on there. But to me, the song itself should be in a theme of COVID. And when I did it, it was early last year. So it would have been probably more timely to release it during the elections, but I didn't bother releasing it because I'd probably get done on copyright or whatever. I don't really want to do that. But the concept is really interesting, and you've got to have a solid story, and I think it adds entertainment value. That's all I've got to say about that.
Another great concept album that came to mind is actually Bowie's Outside, which is also all very cyberpunk. And he's actually got talking dialogue between everything, which you sort of reminded me of how there's actual dialogue between the tracks, tying the tracks together, tying it back into this concept. That's great. I really appreciate everyone's thoughts on this. If anybody else has anything to want to add to this, please, let's go ahead and talk about it. I feel like we're running a path here. Anyone? Eric?
I was just gonna say, adding on to what Rob was saying too, having each song as that narrative and a story through a song, I think is a great idea. And usually the songs are a story because you're writing the lyrics and you're getting that. And maybe it doesn't follow the whole concept of an album, but if each song maybe has a similar story, maybe not necessarily concept, that also works very well. And I just want to throw in there as well, I don't know how many people in this chat or watching listen to hip hop underground, of course, but like A$AP Rock is for me a lyrical genius. That guy, not A$AP Rocky for some of you kids out there, old school A$AP, and he just released an album called Spirit World Field Guide that came out last year, October, around Halloween, I think. And that's another one, and he can tell a story, and whether you understand it or not, maybe it's always gonna be there because he's incredible. But that's a great concept album about somebody going through the spirit world, and the whole album is just that, and the videos are really trippy for that too. But yeah, just throwing that out there as well. Thank you.
That's great. And if you're looking for concepts, just on the subject of the spirit world, Hack and Slash, aka Aaron, his concept, he researches like Hades and a lot of the Greek and the Roman concepts of hell, and they just keep going. It's fascinating listening to his stuff. It's just amazing. He's a bit of a mind-blowing sort of guy to listen to because of his knowledge of this topic. And it's, there's Eurydice and her boyfriend who got all the limelight, and Orpheus. It was Orpheus, wasn't it? Yeah. That whole concept's crazy. Anyway, there's a lot of concepts. If you're looking for concepts, dude, those crazy Greeks, full of concepts. And hell, let me tell you. Does anybody else want to throw something else in here, or do we want to change the subject? Oh, wow, you guys are so talkative right now, aren't you?
I think we should change the subject to real simple stuff. What does everyone use to create their music and their video in terms of software? Are people using are they using quality software that they find is necessary, or are they using very rudimentary stuff and it works well for them? I'm just curious because I think everyone hates DAW wars. Everyone's arguing about Ableton this, Cubase that. I'm actually experimenting with all different video production tools at the moment, and I'm finding it very interesting what you can get for your money. And I've got a lot of experience with most DAWs, except for the ones that I just couldn't afford and didn't pirate, like Pro Tools. But I'm interested in what people are using and why.
I'll go first, unless somebody else wants to jump in. Vince, did I just see your hand? Go. Let's go.
Okay. I use this Sony software that I've used forever for music. I recently upgraded it to a newer version.
What's it called?
Acid. It's actually Magix now. It's not Sony anymore. But I had Sony Acid 6.0 that I used right up until a few months ago, and I just upgraded it to the new version that's 11. Five versions later, I did it all at once because I just didn't have money before that. But for video is where I find a problem finding decent software that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. I use Power Director right now for everything I edit for video because it comes with a lot of transitions and effects built into the software. And I can use it on my phone and then ship it to Google Drive and then open the exact same file on my computer. So I can switch back and forth to edit, even though I do most of it on my phone anyway. So that works out well because it's simple, it's easy to use, but it's also got a lot of features, even though it's simple. Music stuff, I don't know. I tried Fruity Loops for a while. I had Cakewalk for a little while, and it always comes back to Acid. That's the one that works because it's what I started on. It's comfortable. I understand where all the buttons are. It's kind of an important thing to me. But yeah, as far as software goes, I think the whole Doll Wars thing is ridiculous. Honestly, I see a lot of that in comment threads, but I don't care what you're using. If you're making decent music, you're making decent music. It doesn't matter what your software. Like, use what you're comfortable with, kind of thing. Oh.
Go, Eric.
Hey, Vince. I actually had a quick question too. I really like. What do you use for your pictures? Like what app or software do you use? 'Cause it's very interesting.
Editing is I use Photoscape on my PC for resizing images so that they're the right pixel width and height for album covers for the internet. But all my pictures on Instagram, those are all run through Snapseed, which is just Google's photo editor.
Cool. Yeah, they look great.
I don't think it comes standard on any phones, at least not as old as my phone. I had to go find it and download it myself, but Snapseed is an amazing photo editor for your phone. It's got a lot of fine-tuning adjustments and things that you don't find in most mobile photo editors. So that's what I use. It's how I get all those color curve adjustments so that stuff ends up being all just a couple of colors or more of one color than anything else. It's got an overall color curve, and then it also has a red, a green, and a blue separately, and a luminance that's separate from all four of those. So I do a lot of blurring things and then editing the color curves. That's how you get all the rings and splotches that seems like that's all the picture is. That's every one of those is actually a picture of something. Like one of them is actually a picture of a messy kitchen table. But that's not what it looks like because I've edited the photo so much. Yeah, Snapseed is amazing for photo editing on mobile. I don't know if it's available for PC. Photoscape works well for that on PC though, and it's also free.
Cool, thanks.
Cool.
Well, since I'm talking, I guess I'll continue. I use PreSonus Studio One, and I too just actually upgraded to Studio One 5, and I was using Studio One 2 for a really long time, and I'm glad I finally updated that. But I'm a big PreSonus fan, and again, like Vince said, it doesn't really matter what you use, I think, as long as you're comfortable with the software and know it. I know Studio One, I've been using it my whole life. I think they're all good, especially nowadays with the battles. I think they're pretty equal. When you look at stuff like Pro Tools and stuff, that's super expensive, first of all, for me, and then second of all, it looks so complicated to me. A lot of stuff on there, since I'm self-taught and I've just learned everything just going along, it looks complicated. I like the simplistic stuff. But yeah, I use Studio One. Video I don't really do anything with yet, but I would like to hear what everyone else says to try to get into that more and see what software we go with that.
Thank you. Adam, shoot.
Like, of course, I get a cat hair in my eye at exactly the moment that you're like, talk to me, right? You know how that feels.
Yeah.
Fun. So yeah, on the software topic, like where to begin, audio or video, right? So I'm a Reason user, and y'all have probably heard me get up on the soapbox and talk about how much I love Reason before. But I think you all have caught on at this point that I'm not actually an instrumentalist. I don't play I don't play the keyboard. I don't play the guitar. But the software in Reason allowed me to learn how to make music, if that makes sense. Like, I started using it when it was 2.5, and so it was really just the sequencing, synthesizer, sampling software. You didn't have the waveform handling. You didn't have the SSL board that it has now. You didn't have the compression and mastering tools that it has now. And so in my case, I talk a lot about how I had to wait for the technology to catch up to the point where I could use it to make music, to get the songs out of my head. And so I really, really love Reason for that, in that I really consider Reason to be my instrument more than just my workstation. And as Reason got more advanced through the years, and added the SSL console to it, and added the upgraded the available tools for it. So one of the things that everybody had a complaint about with Reason was like, oh, I can't use my plugins. Right? So you'd like make something in Reason, and then you would have to export it to something else to use your plugins on the tracks that you created in Reason and all that. But now that's all integrated. So so you can use like the Waves plugins or whatever. You can use pretty much. I mean, it has a rack now in Reason that you can use to plug that stuff right into the workflow. And one of the things that I love about Reason right from the beginning was that everything is very analog looking. So like, when you look at Carl's rack of synths, that's like pretty much what Reason looks like. You flip it around and there's all the wire, and and it's the cable animations are charming because it really looks like you're plugging in the cables, and they even wiggle when you turn the thing around. They did a great job on that, and that was one of the things that was charming about it right from the get-go. But it's a super powerful piece of software now, and it really is complete in ways that a lot of the other ones aren't. So like when you're talking, when I was working at Guitar Center and I was selling pro audio and doing the whole special operations thing, the first question I'm going to ask somebody is, how do you make your music? Because if you're like playing a traditional rock band kind of setup and that kind of thing, then Pro Tools is going to be more the kind of thing that's going to work for you, because it's very much that multi-track kind of thing. Adobe, I use Adobe Audition like a Swiss Army knife for every little thing. It's such a great, easy little editor with incredibly powerful tools. So if you've already got the Adobe stuff, which I'll get to when we talk about video, because Premiere, oh my God. But if you're making electronic music, the go-tos are kind of like, well, Ableton is a very popular program because a lot of the EBM or EDM scene uses Ableton, and the thing that was kind of cool about that was that it gives you this live tweakability. You use it with a controller and you can do cool shit. Reason, however, is far more in depth for your knob twiddling geekiness. Like, if you like to create sounds, Reason is the best way to do it without having a huge rack of analog synths, and in fact it probably gives you more options for the money. I mean, it's what, like $400 or $500 for Reason. And it's incredibly powerful software. So I recommend it to like anybody making computer music. Like, you can get so fine. You can get so fine in that. Like, my complaints about some of the software, like, I'm always going to call it Fruity Loops, but it's FL Studio now. I find it to be very stiff. I kind of found Ableton to be kind of boxy and stiff too, whereas Reason, I can get groove out of my robots like you wouldn't believe. It lets me get so fine. It's incredible. You can really get feel out of the robots that way. As far as video software goes, you know, we talked about this a bit when we did the MTV TV thing. You know, every Mac comes with a iMovie, and iMovie is stupidly powerful and really easy to use. It's a real low learning curve kind of thing. You just drag and drop stuff in and kind of start editing. But it's actually pretty powerful because you can do stuff like chroma keying and all that on there. So, you know, the green screen and all. And that's that was kind of where I got started. And then I invested in the, you know, because I needed to update Photoshop and Audition and all that stuff that I use anyway. So I invested in the big pack and got the annual, which is a real freaking bite every year now, but like can't beat Premiere. You know, like, you know, all the stuff that I've been able to create for MTV TV, kind of, you know, when Diana and I are writing the shows, we kind of start off with a bunch of like, here's a bunch of ideas that I have for technical things that I can do with Premiere that will be funny. And then we write the scripts around that. Premiere is incredibly powerful and gives you lots and lots of layers. And if you're used to using digital audio workstations where you have to manage a bunch of layers and automations and all that kind of stuff, it's the learning curve on video is kind of steep, but it's more like anything. It's kind of all the same at the same time. It's just, what do you call it and where do they keep it, you know? Which was always frustrating with Digital Performer because they called it something that nobody else would call it, and they kept it someplace that didn't make any sense, like, you know, keeping, you know, milk next to trying to think of like dog treats, you know, in the grocery store. You know, things that don't make sense together. Take
Awesome.
it away.
Hey, Adam. Graham, welcome.
Thank you, sir.
I'm going to throw this to you in a minute. Rob, that's such a great question. I use Cubase. Who gives a shit? I've been using. I went from Pro 12 to Pro 24 to Cubase 1, 2, 3, and now I've tried other stuff, but you know, it just doesn't match my mindset. I know other people, it's like Ableton matches their thought process, or, you know, Logic, whatever they call it these days, matches their thought process, or they use Pro Tools because they think by using Pro Tools they're going to look cool, which is the only reason people use Pro Tools. That's just me. But as far as video editing goes, I use Vegas. It's the Sony one, Movie Pro or something.
Yeah, Sony Vegas.
It's bloody great. Or Movie Premium Platinum something. I don't know.
No, you had.
Yeah,
it's Vegas.
Yeah, well, I got it originally for like $50, and that was like 10 years ago, and it's so good. The guy, Chris. Oh God, I've forgotten his name. It's not Chris Harris. That's the other Chris. Oh shit, I don't remember Chris's name. Chris, who does all the Angelspit videos, he uses it, and the shit he gets out of it is so good. He goes by the AKA Mind Human 12, and Chris Davis. I suck. And what he gets out of it's insane. But something really interesting is that I'm slowly realizing that you can use OBS, which we're streaming with now, because you can use it to record. So you can use it as a player. You can use it as a way to construct video in a really interesting manner. That because some OBS clips you can say, when I go to this clip, start it from the beginning, or other ones are going to be play this clip the whole time non-stop. So if you flip back to it, it's going to be like changing the channel, going back to where it was at that current place. So you can start building the craziest shit, and because you're doing green screen, it does green screens. It does green screens better than most software, I think. Sure, the output of it is a little low, and I think it's a bit of it crunches video pretty hardcore because it's doing it real time. But something I'm really excited about at the moment is experimenting with this as a piece of performance software, which really blows my mind. I'm going to shut up now, and I'm going to say, Grim, how do you use... you've been following this in the chat. Grim, what do you got? Tell us about your video.
Yeah, I'm mainly using Adobe Premiere Pro. If I just need like quick and dirty editing, though, it's literally just like iMovie. I think the main thing is like image quality is always everything. That should go without saying. But if you think the lighting is, quote, good enough, you got to battle test it through your cameras. You got to see how the image looks, in post when you do a little bit of, editing from the get-go. But there's so many cheap LED bulbs now that are freaking awesome, that are bright white lights and stuff that'll help cross cancel out shadows. And study a little bit of photography. My buddy Slash came through and he actually got studio lights. So I got like a 3-point light system that'll help you cross cancel shadows, that'll kick the shit out of it. So basically what I'm getting at in a roundabout way is eventually that's going to lead to a better image quality, and that's going to help you with videos. And I'll also say some things are very, they're not friendly when it comes to cameras, but there's workarounds. And one thing I just want to throw out there, just because it seems like everybody's got a dark aesthetic with a lot of the music, is you could use what they call haze in a can instead of fog. Like fog can give you a lot of digital noise and a lot of bullshit in your image, but haze in a can will catch, it'll catch LEDs. It'll catch the like a laser pointer light. I got something that's like a little glove that spins with LED lasers on it. But if it spins fast enough and you spray haze, it creates a vortex and you get one hell of an image. Hold on. This is how I got this image done. And that's literally practical effects.
That's great.
There's not a single computer effect behind that, but it's just like I said, it's just thinking outside the box. But yeah, with the editing though, if you kill your lighting and you got practical effects and you use haze in a can, etc., by the time you hit the editing room, you're gonna feel way better, because you can't edit around digital noise and shitty image quality. I mean, or at least it's exceedingly difficult in my opinion. Because if you start with the pristine image, then your video software is going to help you tune in the light that you want, the colors that you want. You can change it from white to green to orange, so on and so forth. But yeah, image quality, that's everything.
I see your hand, Adam. I want to get to you in a minute. You brought up a really interesting point, which is really worth a path worth traveling down. Is everybody deals with, I have videoed something and it's crap, but I have to use it. How? Or I have recorded something and the quality is shit. How do you overcome that when you can't, if you can't retake? But that's for another thing. A really quick question. Do you have a new, what's going on in your arm?
What's that? Oh, here?
Oh, yeah, I thought that was a tat. Dude, did you get a mega tat?
If only. If only.
It's like fucking crazy. All right, I'm going to throw this to Adam. Adam, I'm looking forward to your short, concise, to the point answer.
Well, I was going to jump back in there. I put this in the chat there, this book, Light, Science, and Magic, An Introduction to Photographic Lighting. It is a fantastic, fantastic book to run down what Grim was just saying there about looking at photographic lighting. This book is like, how do I say this? recommended reading, required reading if you're going to do any studio photography. It will teach you how to see light. And it's a very very good book. And Grim, I gotta pick your brain for tricks in Premiere there, but to answer the question about what to do with shitty video or difficult video, you know, what I've been doing is it's kind of one of those things. It's best you can. Like you kind of just gotta monkey with the settings until it doesn't look awful. And one of the things that's kind of cool is just, you know, you do it in audio all the time, is introduce some noise to it, because sometimes by making it noisier and degrading the quality of it, it actually just makes it look better.
Yeah,
I've done stuff in the past where I've had a recording and it's full of pops, like digital clicks. You know, there's only so much you know, declicking will take out of that. So I'll put a sample of like a 45 record under it, so it sounds like it's coming off. But anyway, I only ask that because I know that this is something a lot of us face, and it's sometimes, you know, sure, retake it, but sometimes you can't. You know, I just fucking went insane this week on a job that was a whole bunch of issues because people were using their laptops and their phones to record, which is a commonplace now. Rob, I see your hand go, and then I'll throw it to you, Grim.
Yeah, it's I'd say it's bloody frustrating because I've got a lot of material and people send me a lot of material, and it's all in different formats, and I hate paying for software that I don't find directly, you know, productive, and so I'll try to get it for free. But then I always let myself down for choosing the shit products. So I go up another level and I try a little bit higher and say, I'll try this one out. No, maybe I wasted my $50. Let's try the $120 version, you know, and it's a vicious cycle. And it gets to a point where it's who you know, it's not what you can buy, because, you know, having the experience with editing in a particular tool is probably much more powerful than comparing one tool to another, if you don't have experience in either of them. But I've had problems with converting video codecs extensively with image resolution and, you know, all that sort of stuff. It's a pain in the ass. And I started with Sony Vegas Platinum, and the problem is when I was using video formats that weren't created with my Sony camera, I discovered that I had a lot of problems. So I got into the Filmora X Wondershare stuff, which you pay a little bit more for that. And Filmora X has got a ton of really good crowdsourced effects and transitions and neat things and free stock video that you can just chuck in your project. And it's always updating every month. It's kind of cool like that. But I was not getting certain things out of Filmora either, because it didn't give me what I wanted to do. And I'm working a lot with CGI, with computer graphics stuff. And so I'm always experimenting with game engines, creating content. And I wasn't getting what I wanted in Filmora. And so I recently switched to DaVinci Resolve, and DaVinci Resolve is an Australian product which incorporates Fairlight, and so it's a video editing tool specifically for movie creation, serious movie creation, with Fairlight fully integrated into the workflow, and all of your VST plugins go straight in. And I'm finding that is probably going to be where I stop the video editing wars, because they have a lot of support for it. And I went through all the courses for it, you know, they're all free. And I had no idea that Fairlight was doing this stuff. So it's an amazing synth engine with all fully integrated with video graphics editing tools. with different views. And so I'm switching to that now because I agree with what Adam said about FL Studio. It's clunky. It's got its purpose for matching up with what I used to do with mod trackers on DOS back in the day. And that's why I migrated to Fruity Loops. But most of the editing that I do is actually in Audacity because it's multi-track. I can go and snip the audio however I want. And I started out in two different worlds. I started off with a mod tracker, building game music, and I started out recording rock bands, totally analog. Microphones, you know, and burning to disc, like CDs. So those two worlds I've finally got to merge together. And Audacity probably has the most hours up on any tool that I've used in the past because I'm just used to signal editing. But DaVinci Resolve Studio, plus it does my Atmos stuff and 7.1 for work. That is incredible. I never knew anything about it. And my buddies who are professionals in Australia, they went from Pro Tools to Reason. And their only gripe about Reason was VST. Well, now you can even get a Reason VST, so you can plug Reason into your workstation, and Reason is kick-ass because it's visual patching. It's freaking awesome. And those folks got sick of the Pro Tools expensive environment. Very wankery. You know, they've gone to Reason, and now my other buddy in Australia who does game engine stuff as well as audio, he's a sick lead guitarist. He's migrated to DaVinci Resolve for everything as well now, video and audio. So that's where I'm at. But the reality is Audacity itself, to me, is the same as using one of my old school little desks, little recorders. Because I love sitting on the couch with one instrument, plug it in one little recorder, and just use those two tools to their max. And it's going to be a different workflow to everything else. It's going to create a different outcome to everything else. But I save all that shit off, and then I pull that stuff into, you know, my major workstation to produce a track. But yeah, I've been through it all, and honestly, I don't really like any particular audio workstation. I think they all suck for me. They just drain your creative juices.
Yeah.
You know, that's just how it is. I'd rather be on the gear and record stuff really simply, you know, hit record and just save all the tracks and do that shit later. I hate sitting in front of the computer, but when I'm working on other people's tracks, I treat that differently to my creative process. When I'm working on somebody else's track, I've got it in a DAW. I've got, you know, complete Ultimate pulled up with all the fancy instruments and drum kits and all that sort of shit because it sounds fucking amazing. I use that shit for them, but I don't actually use it for me because I don't connect with it. The whole computer screen is not a connection for me in general. Over.
All right, firstly, hold on, I see your hand, Eric, I'll get to it. I have never, ever, 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 ever written a song on a DAW. Never done it. I can't do it. I totally agree with you. They just suck creativity out of you. Secondly, I know Fairlight started messing around with video stuff in the late 80s because I watched, it was on Towards 2000, or was it Beyond 2000 on the ABC, right? I don't remember. The other thing is, someone they spoke to about it was Severed Heads. So they pulled Severed Heads in, because, you know, Sydney, and to get their thoughts on it. Quick question about, so DaVinci Resolve is video editing software? Because my next question is how much?
It's video and audio. It has a VST DAW for it's got Fairlight built into Resolve.
Jesus.
So, and here's a trick. If you don't want to spend money like most people don't, go onto eBay, look for somebody who is selling their license online because they got it with their camera and they already use Adobe or something else and they don't want to change to DaVinci. So they're all selling the software because the software itself, it comes with an SD card, but you download the latest version. It's got this little, key in it to put into the software to enable it. The software itself is, I think it's about $400 online, but people are selling these sealed, ready to go, for a couple $100 or less. I got this one for $150, and just came in the mail from Tampa. Plug it in, install it. Fucking works. It's amazing. It's the best money I've ever spent, and the Fairlight stuff is incredible. Like the things that I've learned from the professionals using DaVinci in their tutorial videos, I could never have imagined any of my doors ever doing that. Really, really awesome workflow for automation and the rest of it. So yeah, check it out.
Thank you, Rob. That's great. Eric, what do you got?
I actually had a question as well about the DaVinci, Rob. How's the learning curve on it? Like going in, not having any kind of video editing. I know it's very similar to music, but it is different. Like not having any kind of background in that. How is the learning curve with DaVinci?
So Fairlight is similar when you look at it. What you see is what you get to another door. When you go through the tutorials, you realize that there's a lot of flexibility and tools that make things really easy for you. Like one of the ones I learned about was doing retakes of audio tracks. It'll automatically resync video and audio however you want visually. You can copy it over the page. You can totally overlay the tracks and gently move them to completely synchronize them, and then you can take away the one that you don't like. Things like that I haven't been able to do before in another tool. So for the video editing part, I can't really comment on that because I've used a ton of video tools in the past, including Adobe Premiere, and they're all pretty much the same. Drag and drop your video clips. Sometimes the video's got audio embedded in it, so you can mute that. Drag your audio clip on top. Then you've got titling channel, and then you've got a transition effects channel, and you might have some blue screen overlay channels. You end up with about 5 channels basically, like in your door, but it's just video content, and you just import it, snip it, drop it in. When you scroll in and out, I use a little tool to help me, scroll in and out really quickly. Video editing in most tools is pretty straightforward if you've done it once. If you haven't done it before, I don't think DaVinci is going to be any different to learning any other tool, except maybe Premiere. Premiere is pretty complex.
Bonza. Grim.
Hey, so I'm gonna circle back real quick. I noticed, whatever camera you're using too, just to be constructive, try to look up how to white balance your camera. That helps tremendously with image quality, because regardless of your lighting setup, they have, you literally hold up a white card in front of your camera to teach your camera kind of, hey, in this lighting, this is what white looks like. So that'll help a lot with the quality. But in regards to, maybe having cruddy footage or just kind of working with what you got, I'd probably say you could tune down the contrast a little bit toward the darker end to where that digital noise doesn't show up or flare as bad. And there's also the difference between good and good enough. If you keep sweating about this ain't good enough, and you're facing a deadline, you stress. But if you play with that contrast a little bit and maybe throw a little bit of effects on top of it, like Carl was saying, like an old record sound or a transistor or that equivalent on video, like if you make it look like an old film thread or, old 35 mil film, then that can be good enough for what you need, because music videos can be spontaneous, right? It could be a few seconds of that footage and then cut to something else. So that way it's not, just living on that one clip that irritates you for like 20 seconds a pop, you know, and just kind of break it up a little bit.
Awesome. Yeah, if anyone else has, like, you know, thoughts about video, throw them in now. I actually know jack shit about this, and this is something I've got to learn about. So,
yeah, video color matching is an art. I remember actually my brother's wife works at Channel 9 in Maroochydore in Australia, and she took me through. She's the one who uses the crazy console to create all the graphics on TV for ads and news and all that sort of stuff. So she's got these transitions and things, and she showed me this their main studio room for audio and video, and they've got all of these gyroscope looking oscilloscope things everywhere, but they're all plasma displays, and they're all to harmonize the video brightness, intensity, the Gauss, the white, you know, contrast, to basically align like 6 different parameters on every single piece of video, so they all look the same when they transition from one to the next. So it's almost like listening to one track and then the next track and normalizing the audio levels so it's all the same audio level. But for video, it's like times 5 or 6. It's quite complex, and I've never learnt about all of that stuff. But I hear what you're saying, Reaper. There is a lot more to video quality production than meets the eye, that's for sure.
Definitely.
yes, and thank you. That link to the book has been put up there. Definitely something worth checking out. Thank you, Adam. Thank you, Diana. Does anybody else want to throw in something amazing about this topic right now? Vince, go.
All right, I'm a little behind because I had to leave the room for a second, but I have an issue. Well, I don't know if it's an issue so much as it is a personal thing for me. I'm colorblind, so I actually am not entirely sure what colors things are in most of my photographs or video. So I'm wondering how one would deal with that. If there's something specific you're going for, like I'd like to have a color that ties everything together, but I can't match things because I'm colorblind, so it doesn't really work.
I'm gonna jump in straight off and say, you know, I can't relate quite to that experience, but I know an artist out here in Massachusetts who makes the most incredible color art and is colorblind. Diana, you've seen the Salem Vampires Masquerade flyer from a handful of years back. He did that, and the color work on that is astounding. And I asked him one time how he does it, and what he said is he really goes by the luminosity. Like he doesn't see color, but he experiences it in sort of a different. He experiences different vibrations of color than what we take for granted as being color visual.
Yeah, see, I'm not entirely colorblind. I'm red-green colorblind. Deuteranopia is actually the technical term for it. So I have a hard time telling certain colors apart. Like a lot of my photographs on Instagram, there's things in there that I don't know if that's a blue or a purple. I don't know if that's yellow or green. I don't know if that's red or orange. But I can tell it's one of those, and I can tell there's enough contrast with what's next to it that you can see that. But I have no idea what actual colors a lot of it is.
See, I think that holds true for this artist as well. For crying out loud, I apologize. The medicine's kind of kicking me lately, and I'm having a hard time remembering names, and it ought to just pop right to my head. But yeah, the only thing that I can think of there is when I asked him, you know, is he said that he says that he sees it as layers of luminosity, not as distinct colors, and that he, you know, it's kind of, he was like, you know, I don't, he said too, he's like, it's not like I see in black and white, it's just that, you know, like you, it's just, you know, different colors don't look different.
All right. Thank you. Vince, can I ask you, do you see my backgrounds behind me?
I can tell your wall is red as far as I can tell.
All right. Yeah, it's red. And what about the curtain behind me?
I'm not sure that that's beige or brown or pink.
It's green.
Yeah, see?
All right. So
don't know.
It's actually beige. It's an accountant's office color, wallpaper color.
I'm going to kick Rob in the dick later. So here's my thoughts on it. Adam brought up a really interesting point about there's other elements within color that you can jump on. For example, hue. For example, luminosity. My gut reaction to this is use it. If you have this individual streak, utilize it. And see what you can come up with, because the best thing, because I've seen a lot of your stuff and some of it's really stark, and now that you say that you have you're colorblind, certain colorblind on certain areas, it sort of makes sense. But when I saw it, I went, it doesn't bug me, it doesn't freak me out. That's really interesting. And you know, luckily we are in an environment with a market, with a tribe who are into stuff that's really interesting. So, you know, if I'm sure there is software that will allow you to break out, like, you know, you were talking about the levels and all of that stuff and the hues. My understanding is that a hue is going to look the same across a grayscale. If it's bright green versus more gentle red, the bright green is going to stand out because it's going to be closer to white. But I don't fully know this, so my thoughts are utilize what you have, utilize what's going on. Excuse me. I know that there are other things you can do. For example, in Photoshop, you can take the luminosity and move it that way, and anything that was green now becomes red. So you can go, okay, because that's red, I know it's green. I'm just going to bump it back to the middle now. The other thing is, if a color confuses you, don't use the color. If you can see green, if you can't see green but you can see red, don't use green. Go through on a scale, on a level scale, pull out the greens.
Sometimes I can't see red either. That's the thing, because the reds and the greens, depending on the luminosity of the red or green, they might look the same to me.
Okay.
Like I have to use colorblind assist when I play Fortnite. And there's a slider on that adjusts it. And if you turn that slider down past a certain point, I can't tell the difference anymore between the blues and the purples, or the green and the gold. Both of those look the same too. So you got to crank that slider up to at least halfway, or I can't tell the difference in the colors for things on the screen.
Okay. Well, Aaron, Grim, I see your hand. I just want to go a bit further in this. So from my perspective of somebody who makes, you know, visual art, what are good colors? If I don't want to have text on this color on this color, is it basically keep the contrast high?
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Which is what I try to do with my stuff. My wife wants to get me a pair of those glasses that make colorblind people see stuff more like people that aren't colorblind, because those are a thing that exists. But I kind of feel like it'd ruin my visual art for me to know that it doesn't look like what I'm seeing as I'm doing it. So I kind of don't want to do it, but she is insistent that one of these days she's going to get me a set of those. My daughter's colorblind too, like almost the same way I am. Not quite though. Like certain things she can tell and I can't, and certain things I can tell and she can't. And she also does a lot of visual art stuff. She paints and draws all the time, and my wife's always telling her how great her stuff is, and I agree, her work is fantastic, but I can't tell what colors those are.
Can she?
And she can't either most of the time.
Wow. Okay, so the takeaway from this is, whenever we are doing visuals or anything else, make sure the contrast is high on anything that is important to read, to see, to notice. When it's a similar hue on a similar hue, to people who are colorblind, that might just melt into beige. All right, thank you. Yeah, my thoughts are run with it. And as far as the glasses go, I don't know. When you're ready to do it, you do it. You know, ditto with the daughter. If you want to reply to that, go for it. Otherwise, I'm going to throw it to Monsieur Grimm. And thanks again, Vince. That was great. Grimm, what do you got?
I just wanted to show something because, again, I'm a huge fan of practical effects.
Oh, yeah.
So if you get this laser light going and you use our haze in a can, you get a pretty killer little vortex thing going on with all this smoke and all these effects. And that's just baked in. So that's less shit that you have to do on a computer monitor and more things that you can do in-house just to make the video interesting. And I didn't really break the bank when it came to getting, you know, you can get lights on the cheap or you can get a lot of stuff like that. But yeah, like I said, I'm a huge proponent of practical effects whenever possible. And to speak to the color blindness, I think Adobe Premiere Pro, just from what I was searching, I think they have a setting to help with that. But again, it depends on what aesthetic that you're going for and so on and so forth. But I think there might be some settings, and if there aren't, then Carl hit the nail on the head. If you dabble in the RGB scale, there's the individual sliders for the hues of red, blue, green that you can tweak and peak, and that might yield some good results.
Here's the issue with colorblind settings in software, though. A lot of it has a standard default that's just what it changes to. Like my phone, I can set it for colorblind assist on my phone, but then everything looks all fucked up. Like I can't,
shitty.
I don't recognize app icons like I do when the colorblind settings are not on, because they don't look like they should.
They try to do a one size fits all. That sucks.
Yeah,
dude. I'm sorry.
Not everything has a slider for that. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll reiterate. Use it. Use it, because that's you. Use it. And you're going to create something that no one would have thought about creating. You know, you could do, like, the audio equivalent is throw it to mono at the end and then pull the bandwidth down like this. So what does it sound like if it's mono through a shit speaker? I guess the same thing for visuals is going to be throw it to black and white. Put a black and white filter over whatever it is you're doing and then tell. And that's a takeaway for everyone, actually. You know, maybe that's something we should all start doing. Thanks, man. Vince, I've really appreciated this.
Carl, you mentioned the use of OBS and stuff like that. Zoom is interesting because it gives you that virtual background and it does automatic green screening based on focal length or facial recognition or whatever the hell it does. It's okay. I've had a very good experience with Twitch Studio with recording content. I've dropped frames, I've lost audio quality, and the files are so fucking massive that it filled up my hard drive, and my hard drive's still full. So where you put those files once you've recorded them, stick them on Vimeo or just buy another external drive. I kind of went down that path for a little while, but realized that it wasn't working out for me. But have you used OBS to record stuff successfully?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like every time I do a live stream, I'll do the fundamental, I am now recording this live stream. And Eric, I do see your hand, by the way. But one thing I'll do is, because I've got a MIDI control thing that works with OBS, works most of the time with OBS. I don't know why that is. OBS seems to do it just fine. It's either the software or I think it's the software. I don't know. But I can throw a MIDI note to OBS, and that gets converted to a hotkey, and the hotkey changes the clip, the scene, and I can do that to like at 140 BPM. I can be sending sixteenths, and it's changing them like that, and it's really good. And I think that you know, that's a lot of fun. And so when I do a live stream, I'm recording all that, and it's fine. The only thing is thanks, Judge Dredd. That's very positive. I think that it takes up a lot of processing power, and so I don't export it at like 1280. It goes down to like 9, whatever the size below that, or even sometimes the size below that. So it's a slightly lower quality. But that's all I have to say ever. I can throw that back to you, or I can throw back that to Eric. You guys can decide with the knife. No, with chainsaws in a dome. And I'll be Tina Turner.
I just wanted to say real quick, back to with Vince and the color blindness, dude. I think you should just keep doing what you're doing, man. Like I was saying before, I think your pictures are dope, and everything you put up is awesome. So like, use it for that advantage. I think it looks pretty
good.
sick.
Now tell like 6,000 other people, because nobody seems to be looking at it.
Well, yeah, I feel you on that. It's very discouraging, but I think it's awesome, dude.
Yes.
Thank you.
Adam, what do you got?
Somewhat less than 6,000 fans myself. That's what I got. OBS recording. I've been recording all the DJ shows and that kind of stuff in OBS. I ended up using doing the live shows for the festival where I was doing the green screen and singing, and I ended up using some of that for my most recent music video because I had it, so I didn't have to go and film new stuff, because I had recorded it with the green screen. So I was recording on the camera as well as in OBS, where OBS was doing the green screen that was for the show that night kind of thing, but I also recorded the green screen on the camera so that I could use that in Premiere. Right. So tricks, if you can record on the camera as well and record in OBS, then you get two different pieces that you can work with. And recording in OBS is actually pretty good. So the thing that's going to screw you up in recording with OBS is if you're not getting upload speed and you start dropping frames, right? Because what it's doing is it's recording what's going out live. So if it's stuck on frames because it can't get them out, it's going to glitch in your recording the same place that it's glitching in your upload. And so here's the thing. I have been dealing with this. I see you, Carl. Give me 1 second. I'm going to be real fast. I've been dealing with this for it's been driving me crazy all year. You know what I mean? So it's like, I did all the things, got better equipment, have the top package going, like all the things. At this point, I've had the guys come out, like they removed a filter off the line that didn't need to be there. I had the dude down in the basement, and he was like, oh, this wire down here is old and doesn't carry the capacity. And he was like, so he changes this wire, and all of a sudden my upload is better. Like what we're uploading on MTV TV right now, hold on. We are at 93 hours, and I've dropped less than a second and a half.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm just doing some quick math because I'm upstreaming at about 3,000, and we've dropped about 4,500 frames in 93 hours. So it's not always your equipment. It's the freaking wire in the basement. It's the wire to the house. That's the next thing that they're going to do, is the wire to the house, because that wire is old. And so I will probably not drop a second and a half in 100 hours anymore after they fix that wire. And those are the things that we're running into with OBS. Like, everybody's been running into things with OBS. Basically, if you have the good package with the the high upload speeds, it basically 25 megabytes plus megabyte. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. 25 plus going up, you ought to be able to stream super clean on OBS. And of course, you know, you're always going to run into those problems with the viewer on Twitch because, you know, this browser doesn't do it as well as that browser, and this screws up there and that screws up, and you have to reload the player and blah, 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 and you get pauses and that kind of stuff. But that's on Twitch. If you're getting a clean stream going up on OBS, your recording will be clean. But if you are not getting a clean stream going up on OBS and you are dropping frames, that is getting recorded in OBS at the same time.
Interesting. So it's post. You're recording in post stream.
Yes.
So when it comes to actually building a video, therefore, don't stream, just record. Because I've never done that. So I should try that because I'm in the process now of, it's time to make more videos. God, I hate making videos. And
OBS. Sorry, I'm interrupting. You've been waiting for like all month for me.
Yeah, I have. And you know, you're wearing a hat, but it's not the hat.
I didn't wear the big hat today.
Yeah, it's no big hat today. So that means no big interruptions, as I was saying. So what I therefore need to do is just make sure that the fucking don't be uploading it, because like these are videos. I want to do something like the concept I'm going with is I'm going to do a video which is live, and it's got all of these other elements that are live and are mixed live, kind of like live recorded in front of a live studio audience. See that?
Yeah, I think that's
called a shit-stained smile. Rob,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think that's what I did wrong. Is I did it during a stream, and the recording dropped frames and created audio glitches, and you know I should just go and delete that shit because it's crap, and just do it again. Recording it at home without streaming would be the better approach. The problem was I was trying to record music video clips that I made 10, 15 years ago. And when I play them back off YouTube, because I seem to have lost the fucking originals, they record shit. So I've got to just get my technique down and I'll shut up.
That's fucking what you just said. Adam, I'll throw that to you in a minute, but I just want to point out what Rob said was a fantastic slather of the Australian language. It's not YouTube, it's YouTube.
Exactly.
It is. Now, Adam, I think you were trying to.
Okay, I want to make sure.
That's great. I was saying, Adam, I think you were interrupting me, and you interrupted me while I was saying, Adam, I think you were interrupting me.
So it's YouTube.
Yeah, YouTube, and you don't tune your guitar. You tune your guitar, and the fish in the fucking sea in the fucking tin is tuna. Can I get a tin of tuna?
Because you'll hear tune around Boston, like good tune. Like Wicked Tune did.
No, you won't fucking hear that in Sydney. You'll say, that's a fully sick tune, bro.
Tune.
And if there's a New Zealand accent in there, you punch them.
I think that's more of a Philly thing, though. Like tune.
Yeah, I don't care.
But yeah, OBS.
Your country's fucked and has no idea how to butcher the English language. None.
OBS, like you were saying before, OBS is super powerful.
Do you have the saying "shit-stained smile" in this country? Shit-stained smile.
Shit-eating grin. We have a
shit-eating grin. Okay, damn, because I got a lyric which is "shit-stained smile." Do you know what that means? I don't know. Sorry, what we go on, Adam?
Is it what you get after the shit eating that you were grinning about prior?
Yes. Yes,
go.
It is. Don't call me prior.
So there's a concept there now for you, Carl. It's called the Republic of Shit Eaters.
Right?
New album by Angelspit.
Surely you jest.
How about strange shit eaters? Whom are all strangers? Whom I am dating?
Don't Google this.
That might repel a lot of people.
You know,
when I mentioned I went to Italy. My wife wanted me to get some truffle salt, and she said, "Oh, the other thing I want you to bring back is a jar of truffle butter, but don't Google truffle butter." Now everyone's going to Google it.
Rob, is it Italian or Italian?
It's Italian.
Yeah, of course it is.
Yeah.
I'm from Queensland, so it's Italian. Adam.
Well, see, the
so
other saying now in Australia is not. It's what did you say? It was the that's cut sick. Now it's the shit.
It is the shit.
Yeah.
Actually, I want to just stop for a minute, Adam. We're going to talk about you in a second. So Gary Newman hosted Rage recently, and that reminded me, Jesus, you guys need to fucking watch Rage, but you need to watch MTV more, because I'm always reminded how Rage. Rage has this thing where if you sent in your track, they'll play it. Just like MTV TV, except MTV TV is 24 hours non-stop dark side music. Oh, yeah. But watch Rage. It's fucking awesome. I mean, on YouTube. But that doesn't matter. But you can watch MTV TV right now on Twitch. Diana, that's where you put the thing in the pitch. Okay, Adam, go.
So on YouTube...
Good boy.
Is that good?
That's good. That's
pretty good. On YouTube, the problem with when you upload to YouTube, I'm gonna say it like an American, man. I can't do it every time. When you upload to YouTube, it compresses, and I don't understand it myself. But anytime you try to download something that you have uploaded to YouTube, it looks worse. It looks blockier. The compression
it's
really
it's
weird.
more and more lossy. I experience the same problem.
It is a horrible algorithm, and so I've done the comparisons actually, because for a while there I was using YouTube just kind of as a way to record my DJ sets, because they were going to block them anyway. Thanks DMCA, thanks Audible Magic. Well, don't get me going. And I was using it just to record it, and then I started recording it just on the hard drive through OBS, and I looked at them and I was like, wow, it is so much cleaner just recording it right off OBS. So unfortunately, if you've uploaded stuff to YouTube to archive it, you're going to get it back like shittier.
Yeah, it's the 8-bit crunch, YouTube effect.
It's nasty, and I really, I just don't recommend uploading stuff to YouTube as a way to archive anything. It's not going to do a good job of it. I don't have much experience with Vimeo, but watching stuff on Vimeo looks better, so I assume that it does a better job. Like, if you would expect that if you were to upload a file and then download that same file back again, that it would be the same file regardless of the way it looks when it plays back through the browser, but that is not the case.
Yeah, Vimeo is
re-encode it.
Yeah, Vimeo's not like YouTube in that regard. YouTube's meant to push to the shittiest products, right all the way down to the lowest bandwidth so you can watch something, whereas Vimeo is actually to store whatever resolution you want. I use Vimeo instead of YouTube, but that makes a big difference.
Be a better solution than
I'm sure the YouTube HD does more encoding as well, and is probably lossy as well.
I don't have experience with that. One thing that I will mention, though, I mentioned it earlier in the Zoom chat here. Topaz Labs makes that. Oh crud! What's it called again? I have to scroll back to see it now. Video Enhance AI, and so the thing that's useful for is it's basically just it's a denoise tool. They make photo software. That's how I know it, right? It was that, it was Topaz Labs made stuff that we used in the photo studio that I interned in, and the denoising tool was one of them. And so with the Video Enhance AI, it's one of those things that if you have older, lower quality video, you can enhance it, denoise it, and so it is definitely not as high contrast and as sharp looking, but it cleans up an awful lot of noise. I mean, you know, it gives you the option of how much cleaning in different ways that you want to clean it, in different ways that it wants to handle color and audio and all that stuff. It's pretty you know, it's got a lot of, like, you know, you can just click on it and go and it'll do its thing, but then there's, you know, a bunch of ways that you can fine tune it. But it is a powerful piece of software. I think it's like $50 or something like that. I don't remember what I paid for it, but I've used it a handful of times for you know, when I get cell phone video or something, and I run it through that real quick, and it cleans it up a little bit, you know, gets rid of the noise.
What's that behind you there, Adam? Look behind you.
What's behind me where?
Yeah, have a look behind you. Hey, Carl, in your video making, when you do those live streams, do you use OBS for the live streams?
Yes.
Yeah, so I notice you get a green screen on one of your displays on the music rack, and it'll actually pass the cool video effects on the back wall. I love that shit. I stare at it every single time. It's cool.
It's
I'm just saying.
One of those really cool accidents that's happened. And something else I want to do now is I want to get one of the other cameras and key it into red, so the room will disappear.
Sorry, back to you, Adam.
Oh, that was good. Hey, you know
Sorry,
what?
mate.
This is I think somebody has unfortunately done this as a horror movie where, hey, what's that behind you? But that's actually a really cool thing, because I mean, how the fuck am I going to do future video modes? God, I hate doing videos. What else is going on? Are we what are we doing right now? We haven't talked about. You know, I heard
Preying on Adam's paranoia. That's what we're doing.
Don't worry about him.
Adam, you've got a collab for Halloween, right? We're going to all collaborate for a release at Halloween, and it's going to be, you know, what did you say, Adam? It's being held by a stranger, being touched by a stranger,
Dating a stranger.
being fondled by a stranger.
I mean, there are places you can go, man. Like, if you like that kind of thing, there's this joint in Phillipsburg, New Jersey that I worked at when I was in school.
Like a public toilet?
No. Let's just leave it off.
Okay, Grim, what do you got?
Hey, yeah, to that end, yeah, if MTV TV doesn't have anything planned, what you do, you might, I don't know. But I think the pre-Halloween events kick way more ass than the events that typically happen on Halloween, just because there's so much clutter and so much random. So I think it'd be really, really cool if, to that end, if everybody decides that's like here and otherwise that they want to do something for Halloween, that'd be badass, man. Like, I have an entire soundscape of multiple projects that I just call the Grimtacular, and it's not the Monster Mash and the theme from Jaws. It's not like your everyday cookie cutter bullshit. Like, I think it'd be really cool if everybody did something, you know, for MTV TV, or did something outside their norm, and then they could kick it over there and they could stream for that event.
Talk to the program director.
I'm not gonna say that I have a mask on the way that I ordered, but I have a mask on the way that I ordered.
Oh.
But yeah, I think Diana and I are probably going to end up talking about what we're going to do for a Halloween special. So obviously a big thing for me has been healing up from the surgery and blah blah blah. And so as I'm getting better, you know, we're starting to think about what we want to do over the next couple of months and what have you. Diana's been absolutely kicking ass, you know, with the whole guest VJ hosts for New Music O'Clock. And again, thank you so much, Carl. You made it super easy for me. Do beautiful production work. And she's been knocking that, you know, that's an idea that we had that was like, oh, this is cool, and this is kind of working, and she just went and took off like a bottle rocket. And
I'm sorry, what does a bottle rocket do? Okay. Okay.
You know Bottle Rockets?
Yeah. They're a
Yeah,
great
they have
band.
those in Australia,
Band.
right?
Fucking the amount of people say, do they have that in Australia? Do they have Krispy Kreme donuts in Australia? Do they have ballpoint pens in Australia? Do they have electricity in Australia?
Somehow we have boomerangs in the United States, so I assume that you have all that other shit out there.
Yeah, you know what you call a boomerang that doesn't come back?
A stick.
Hey, so do you guys have magnetic shoes in Australia?
Yeah, so we
Because
can
I
stick to the
things
bottom of the
upside
flat
down.
Earth. Yeah.
You have no idea how long it took me to walk from Australia to here with those fucking boots.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what? The best piece of Aussie slang I ever heard was
Aussie
it was in
slang.
Brisbane. I was in
Brisbane.
Brisbane. Brisbane. And this guy goes, I tell you what, you got to watch out for, mate. Some goddamn drop bears. I was like, what is a drop bear?
That's the greatest
And-
Australian accent I've ever heard in my life, Aaron.
I'm trying.
No, you keep trying. You're doing
But
good.
he's like, yeah, but he goes at the bar. I said, I heard everything here will fucking kill you in like 2 seconds. He goes, nah, you ain't got to worry about snakes. You ain't got to worry about spiders. You got to worry about them goddamn drop bears. And he finally elaborated. And he said a drop bear is an angry fucking koala that doesn't have enough eucalyptus. And he'll drop out of a tree and latch onto your face and maul the shit out of you.
That's what happens in the bushfires in Australia. You hear those huge explosions. It's the koala bears exploding because they're full of eucalyptus oil.
Yeah, and they're not bears. They're marsupials.
That's very Monty Python. That's what I'm imagining.
There's actually a suburb in Sydney called Five Dock, and they had this because there's cicadas around there, you know, cicadas. Cicadas, and they were actually so big. They were huge cicadas, and the thing is that they were starting to eat Five Dock. That's for you, Rob.
Oh, fucking hell.
Nasty piece of business, though.
Very.
Big fuckers.
Big fuckers. So does anybody else want to throw anything else in there? There's Shaya. Eric, I see your armpit.
We haven't.
That's a
heard
great
much.
armpit.
Thank you.
You know,
I got another one too.
my
Yeah.
armpit was on a CD cover once, because I have remarkably hairy armpits. And it was on a CD cover. I'm just saying it was, and it had a tree growing out of it.
That's amazing.
It is. Eric, go.
Well, we haven't heard Mark's voice, so I was gonna ask Mark how his N7 armor is treating him. Maybe he can elaborate. No?
He was going for his unmute.
And mute button wasn't working.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it's fine. I actually forgot I had this shirt until earlier today.
I don't know what N7 is.
It's a reference to the video game series Mass Effect. They're
Mass Effect, yeah.
the Space Marines.
All right.
Space Marines.
Okay, I'm just gonna cut in. I noticed before when Ozzy Rob said Dungeons and Dragons, and a few of us yent, yeah, we play Dungeons and Dragons. And I was thinking that, you know, the ability to tell a story is really important. Do they have stories in Australia, Rob? It's really important to be able to tell a story.
Can somebody translate for me? Because I have no fucking idea what he's saying.
It's my American accent.
Is that what we sound like?
Yeah. Yeah.
You sound like you're Canadian, Carl.
Wow, Rob. Fuck yeah. I didn't say A, and I didn't say sorry. How can I sound like a Canadian?
I'm just
It
taking
sounds
the
like
piss.
an Aussie. I know, it sounds like a Valley girl with half a Starbucks.
Really? Oh.
I want to spell it.
Well, no, seriously. I was thinking how important it is that each of us use that storytelling thing that is deeply within our cultures. Because we were brought up on Dungeons and Dragons, and we should pursue that.
That's your new album. That's a new album, Carl. That's how you start it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Oh, here's Adam. All right. So I don't really have anything else to say. And Jesus, Stone Gandalf, you are giving death stares. It's a Stone Gandalf, and everyone knows who I'm talking about.
He's going catatonic.
Okay, so if anybody has anything remarkably important to say in the last moments of our existence on this planet.
Whoops.
That's good. That's good. Rob, Mark, I hope that some of this content today has helped you as far as, you know, gathering the weaponry to formulate song ideas.
Yeah, the first part was pretty helpful. Unfortunately, after that, I just started getting kind of restless. So I want to actually make something, but I don't want to be...
Oh, no, that's good. You know, you should, if you ever get inspired, just turn off, you know, the really excellent conversations we have while Adam's interrupting, and just start making, you know, feel free to start making music, because that's the point of these.
Yeah, I understand that, but I am by nature an extremely polite person.
All right.
Why don't I just leave it muted while I do stuff?
Yeah,
I still listen.
Vince picks up his guitar, you know.
But that's not me, though. That's not me.
Yeah, well, you know, and you're allowed to go, I'm just going to make music. It's okay. You're allowed to do that, because that's the point of these things. Yeah. I'm at a loss. One thing I'm going to be facing this week is I have to come up with concepts for videos, and that's difficult. I think I need to go for walks and drink coffee. Isn't that terrible? We basically said drugs just then. I know. Life's a pile
They're
of shit.
socially acceptable drugs.
Yes, they are. And luckily there is a good drug place, coffee den near me that I shall abode into and get my shit on. I want to thank everyone for being here. And I have nothing else to say except make your music, or we will come to your house and act like dwarves busting into a hobbit hole. And we'll eat all your cheese and drink your wine.
Damn,
I know. I know.
Nothing like getting punched in the hole by a bunch of dwarves when you're drunk.
And leave a shit in your mailbox.
Until the cheese comes out.
Yeah.
I must have missed that part where, and they took a shit in his mailbox.
And to this day, Baggins does not open his mailbox because reasons.
I noticed that Baggins is not home still. But whatever you do, his place smells like shit.
Every time somebody's like, "No, my old friend," he's like, "Let's talk elsewhere."
I've just got a visual. I've got a visual of a bunch of dwarves lining up, dropping their pants, squatting into his mailbox.
When the Nazgul shows up and he's like, "Oh, fuck this."
Yeah, this finishes the way it always finishes.
The ringwraiths go past screaming their heads off because they can't stand the stench.
Well, I have a theory that ringwaves are very anal as far as their cleaning. They're all about cleaning, and they get Shelob in to do the cleaning. But I'm sorry, I just really totally geeked out. And I'm ending this now. Bye! And we're going to zoom to MTV TV right now. MTV TV. And then Brian's got Space Couch on at 12, which is in 45 minutes. He doesn't today. Then we're going to MTV TV. To go to MTV TV right now. Bye!